Welcome everybody to Tunacheki, Africa is Watching podcast. I'm your host, Mikey Moshi, and this is a show where we bring in inspiring African entrepreneurs, creators, celebrities, sportsmen, just inspiring Africans, and we'll just talk about what it means to be an African, Pan-Africanism, and what project they're currently doing. Today, we are going to have a special guest. He goes by the name of the Merc. Okay, so he will tell you more about himself and tell you exactly what he's been doing and why he's doing what he's been doing. Okay, like it's really important. So before we start and we wait for other people to join, please make sure to share this stream. Please share this stream so other people can be notified that the podcast is about to start. Okay, and always remember to like, share, and subscribe to Tunacheki. Okay, we always appreciate you guys taking your time. These days it's a busy world, and we appreciate you guys taking your time to listen to what we have to say. And I hope at the end of this podcast, we will educate you, inform you, or even, God willing, inspire you. Okay, on your journey to further share this African, Pan-Africanist movement that we're trying to share. Okay, so without further ado, let's bring in the Merc.
Hello. Good day, good evening.
Thank you for joining us. And when I say your name, I just remember the song "Return of the Merc." So are you returning?
That's the Mac. I'm the Merc.
Okay.
That's the Mac. You know.
Okay. So kindly just greet our audience, tell them a bit about yourself. Yeah, just a short intro before we start with the conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm the Merc. For those who might know, they might have seen me around on these internet streets. I've been here and there in the shadows. But this whole journey for me really started very recently. So I'm not a stranger to social media, but I was in a very, very different space. And, I was really doing things more in the realm of film, movies, and so forth as a fan, because I'm a big fan of comic books and so on, which is why today's show is actually quite important because of the comic book connection. But as a fan of that, last year, I think it was December, was the World Cup. And I was watching Argentina I don't know who it was. And I remember that they were talking again about these protests in Qatar. And I was really just annoyed about it because I knew how hypocritical they were being in the West about Qatar, because I know what the West have been doing in terms of human rights and so on and so forth. So I said, you know what? I have this TikTok account. I'm not really big on social media, but let me just post something. So I took my phone and I just cut up these posts and I posted it. During the match, I got like 20,000 views before the end of the match. Within like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I was like, wait a minute, I was just looking to going up. Now, I came from the world where if I got 200 views, it was amazing, okay? I know you guys, Tunacheki, are on the next level, but in my world, 200 views was something else. So when I was looking, I was just 10,000, 5,000, whatever. I was like, oh my God. I went to sleep, woke up in the morning, I had 16,000 followers from 195 followers. So I was shocked and I said, wow, people are actually listening. So I decided to post a video about something I actually really cared about, which is Nigeria, because I'm a Nigerian. And I said, you know what? If people are listening to me, let me post about something that I think is important. So I posted a video about Nigeria discovering lithium, which is a big deal for Nigeria, because of all the issues that we've had with oil and everything else. And I said, you know what? For us to be blessed again, to discover something that people are saying is going to be the next big mineral, I was like, you know what? Let me post and let Nigerians know that we have another opportunity. That video exploded. And then I started getting calls from Lagos, from my family, from people in Nigeria and everything. And I got like 70,000 followers off that. And that's what really got me started in this space of all my feelings about Africa and Nigeria and Pan-Africanism and so forth, which I ascribe to. I said, let me start putting out material to educate people about what I'm learning. So all the videos I started putting out was just my own journey. I wanted to learn about things. And when I learned about things about Nigeria or Africa or what's happening in Africa, I would then make a video about it and say, hey guys, this is what I just discovered. You guys should be aware of this. And that journey has just built and built. And within 4.5 months, 5 months, we went from 192 followers to 420,000 followers on TikTok, in like 4 months, 4.5 months. So that's how I got to this position. And I then became really excited about reaching out to other creators and connecting with other creators who are in Africa, who are in the diaspora as well, and trying to figure out a way that we can start unifying in just educating ourselves about our history. Because if you don't know your history, you definitely have no idea where you're going. So that was really my summary of my, how I got to where I am right now.
So now that you've mentioned TikTok, tell us about TikTok. So for us, we've heard TikTok is usually so hard on African creators where it doesn't promote their content or sometimes outright just bans them for no reason. Like I guess this Pan-Africanism thing just doesn't sit right with the owners of TikTok. So maybe you can tell us if you've had any personal
Yeah.
experience of that or you've heard those rumors, or maybe it's just...
Oh, it's not a rumor. This is not
Yeah.
a rumor. I'm a living example. Like, I have had so many content strikes on my videos. It's unbelievable. As we sit here right now, I'm banned from TikTok Live forever. Like, they gave me a permanent ban from TikTok Live. I'm not even allowed to go on live. And what started happening, and I started realizing, was whenever I would post videos that had any comment on Blackness or Africa or anything to do with any kind of awareness, what would happen is that I would get a strike. Then I would have to appeal the strike. And I always knew the strike would be overturned. The strike would get overturned, and then my video would get reposted at like 2 a.m. in the morning when nobody is around to see it. Then I would have to repost, and I'd have to keep trying till I managed to sneak through the algorithm and then get views. So even the 400 plus thousand, almost 500,000 followers I have is in spite of the extreme censorship that I've been getting. But then what I found was, and I started getting banned within seconds, within like 2 minutes. You post a video and I'll be banned within 2 minutes, and then I'd have to appeal. And that's how I knew that this has to be either a combination of an algorithm thing, or there are people trolling my page so that as soon as I post a video, they just mass report me. And then it triggers the algorithm to take the video down. But unfortunately, where I am now is that when you get so many content strikes on TikTok, regardless of the reasoning, you're then on probation. So the next violation I have, or the next 2 violations I have, they will just ban my account. And the problem is we cannot get to anybody human. So I've been trying to get to a human, to talk to a human and say, hey, can you deal with my situation? And we can't even get to a human to talk to a human. And that's what makes it bad, because if I was able to talk to somebody at TikTok, we would probably be able to resolve this situation, because I've never done anything. And to put it, just to emphasize this, the reason why I got banned from TikTok Live is I put up a video about white supremacy. And it's just about the FBI report. There's an FBI report that came out in 2006 saying that white supremacy had infiltrated every level of law enforcement and armed forces in America. And I'm just putting out the information and saying that, look, this is what is going on. And I've got a thing that a project that's dealing with this. Banned me. First of all, they took down the video. Then I tried to talk about it on live, and then they banned me from live.
But you see, like, I think, TikTok still wants to do business in the United States. So probably it thinks it's pleasing the masters that be, right? So it is kind of suppressing that kind of information so that it can go to Congress and say, hey, see, TikTok is, pro-American, so maybe probably that's why they
Yeah.
don't do that type of content over
Well,
there.
they're also doing it for themselves. You could also argue that because China themselves, they don't want an Africa that's fully critically thinking.
Yeah.
So they're like, we don't want to have a situation where Africans, like millions of them, are following a guy or a platform that's making them think about what is actually going on.
But for TikTok, I've heard that the reason why they love African dancers, African entertainers on TikTok, people who do dances,
Right.
the skits, they love that content, especially if it's Africans. They promote that content. But when it comes to something educative coming from Africa, they usually suppress
No.
that information. You either don't get views or you suffer the things you're suffering, right? And the reason is because people might not know this, but the TikTok in China, it usually has another name. I think it's called the Jion or something, right?
Right.
It
Yes. Right.
just focuses on education, informative content, DIYs, things that nurture the brain, things that help you as a person. Like there's time for entertainment, there's time
Right.
for relaxing, but no. Chinese TikTok, it's all about, especially for kids, right? It's all
Right.
about
Right.
education
Right.
and stuff. So
Exactly.
they want to educate their children. They want to entertain our children, right?
Right.
That's the purpose of, I think, the app. So maybe that's also another reason. Your content is just way too educational and not too much dancing.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I do not know how you guys have grown. I have
Yeah.
no idea how you guys have grown because I think it's not just TikTok. I think it's just universal on social media.
Yeah.
They don't really push African or Black content that is because I mean, listen, you see some guys with 10 million views every week,
Yep.
8 million views every week. There's no
Mhm.
reason with your platform, for example, and this is just me looking at what you produce,
Mhm.
there aren't a lot of people doing what you do at that level, right?
Yeah.
So we know that there's hundreds of millions of Africans all around the world who want to see what you're producing.
Yeah,
So there's no
definitely.
reason why you can't be getting 10 million views a post if YouTube was promoting your posts as
And,
much
and, and
you know.
and the people who are currently viewing are like our die-hard fans. The people who would.
Everything okay?
Yeah. Sorry, just got cut off. I'm saying the people who are promoting TikTok are the people who are sorry, the people who are promoting that kind of content are the people who are so how can I put it? Passionate about Africa, right? The people who come
Right,
to watch our content, the people who look for our content, right? These are the
right,
passionate people. But we
right,
also would love to catch other people, right?
right.
We want to fish other viewers, other like you see. So
Exactly.
that's why it's important for our content to be spread evenly as to the Mr. Beasts and the other like
Right, right.
centric content they push on us, although we don't,
Right.
right?
Exactly. We get pushed on content that isn't even really for us because
Yeah.
they're trying to convert us to those things. But our content doesn't get, because for a fact, and this is the thing that people misunderstand. White people, Europeans, and people, Latin Americans, a lot of them are very interested in Africa.
Yeah, so
Very
much.
interested. So if you showed them this material, they would watch it. It's not a case of like, oh, all of them, they don't care. They actually would be interested. You've got to show it to them. And I think, like people in the chat are saying, obviously the real issue is that we don't have our own platform. I mean, that's the real problem. So we spend a lot of time complaining about what other people are doing with their own property, because this is rented property that we're on right now.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
as opposed to us really putting together something for ourselves. But as I said, look, there are apps out there that are Black owned and so forth. But again, without getting into the weeds with that, it's really a case of, you look at some of the apps and I say, well, the way you've gone about this, you haven't really put yourself in a position where you can really succeed, because it can't just be about money. It's got to be about the education. It's got to be about the information. It's got to be about the content. And I really think that's what we're missing as a community when we make an app, is that we're not really focusing on content. We're just focusing on like, how do we make something to be revenue streams? And that's not how we're going to do it, especially for
Yeah.
Africans and for Black people. That's not how we're going to, because we don't like to pay for anything. You know that. So like, that's not how you're going to get this started.
Kojo is saying again. I say we need our own apps and platforms. Yes, we need our own apps and platform. Tonachiki is in the process of creating our own platform where you would be getting our uncensored, unfiltered content. Because with YouTube we always cut corners. We have to follow other people's rules with other cultures. So yeah, like we're working on that. And for you, the Mark, what's your answer for that? We need our own apps. Do you have any other plans?
Yes, I mean, of course. Look, I said, for me, I'm new. You guys are the veterans. I'm learning from people like you and everybody else who's been doing this for a while. I'm new to this space in terms of this space that we're in terms of Africa, the diaspora, and so forth. When I get enough momentum, I get enough subscribers, I have stabilized and I have a following that is stable and so forth, I'm really going to start looking at things like that. So you've obviously evolved to a position where you can do that. I'm nowhere near where you are, you know. So when I get to that level where I have resources, I have money coming in, there's revenue, of course I'm going to start looking at ways in which I can consolidate my audience and create platforms that people can go and feel safe in really talking about what Nigeria and Africa and the whole continent needs to know. Because I think all the divisions that we're experiencing within Africa is not by accident. You know, when we're looking at North, South, this and that, this is not an accident.
Definitely.
They don't want us to unite, you know, of course not. So till we as a community start really having conversations, because I know that if I can sit down with some Egyptians, sit down with some Moroccans and some Algerians who have sense, they think the way we're thinking, you know. This is not all the rhetoric that you see getting pushed out there about, oh, these people don't care. I'm like, yes, those are the loudspeakers. Those are the people with the microphones. They don't represent the entire community. I know a lot of Libyans, specifically, for example, who are very, very down with unifying. You know what I'm saying? And obviously with what America did to Libya, you know, they are even more so now than before. So, you know.
And that was the majority of Libya before they took down Gaddafi. They were so on United States of Africa. Then the people who are like currently running Libya are just the insurgents. And there was this report I read last week that it's the UK that brought in some of the insurgents, some of the Al Qaeda guys in Libya to start the protests and the Arab Spring thing, right? So it was like I think M16, like no, sorry, not
MI6.
MI6 that kind of like did that to try to get rid of Gaddafi. So. And you think the people
By the way, guys, that's who James Bond is, by the way. Everybody understand who James Bond is. That's the kind of thing James Bond does. This is the kind of thing James Bond and Jason Bond do.
So, can I ask a question? What's the difference between a terrorist and James Bond? I guess the nationality, right?
Nationality, nothing. It's the same thing. It's the perspective is the difference. That's
definitely. And who's he bombing and which children is he killing, right?
Right.
So let's now get back to the creation world. So as you said, you've been creating before you started this social media thing, right? So maybe let's go back to that and give us a bit of background, the types of projects you've been involved in, like what is your specialty, and what are the things you love to create going forward.
Yeah, no, look, I'm a multimedia guy. I'm very, very well versed and experienced in media when it comes to video, graphics, and so forth. And you know, and what we're even going to be talking about today about a graphic novel. I was very big into comics when I was growing up, so that's also a factor. But when you watch my content or you go on my platform, you will obviously see that I take a lot of time into production and producing the material, because I view the production levels as very important in grabbing the attention of the viewer and also conveying my message. I feel, you know, when talking about the projects I'm doing, that a lot of what I'm doing is really about looking back into African history, trying to educate myself and everybody else on the aspects of our history that have been hidden and obscured, and specifically connecting them to the present day events, the present day situations that we're going through in Africa, and explaining to people how, if you look at what happened 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 50 years ago, you can see correlations between those activities and what's going on now. So what we need to do is that if we understand our history, we will not make the same mistakes in the future. So my thing is that people who haven't got any idea where they came from, we spend all our money and all our time learning about Western culture and Western history. The reason why Westerners teach their kids about history is because they want to keep evolving. They want to keep growing. They're telling them that this is what we did. These are the mistakes we did. These are the things that must never be repeated. Okay? For some reason, not only do we not learn about our history, we actually send our children to the people who colonized us and enslaved us to teach our children their history, which is redacted and heavily manipulated to favor them, which is very, very strange. It's just very, very strange and twisted. So as I've gotten older, when I was younger, I didn't think this way. But as I got older and I'm now the elder guy who's looking at the young kids, How am I going to look at a young Nigerian or young Zimbabwean or young Kenyan, young Ghanaian, young guy from Congo and be looking at him and saying that, well done, go and get your degree from England, go and get your degree from America, go and, how well did you? I'd feel sick, because I know what they're missing. I know the perspective. So I think for us, it is extremely, extremely, extremely important that platforms like yours and mine and all the other people in this space really succeed, because it's important for us to build these projects. So that's what the Crusaders that we're going to be talking about is one of those projects. I have a lot of projects, but this is one that is already in full swing and going. And it really is focused on African history and reclaiming stolen and hidden history.
Like the thing you've mentioned on education, I've got a friend who's studying in the Netherlands. So they were doing this, I think, course on like human studies. So they were saying, what's the difference between like they're dealing with first person shooter response, right? So
Okay.
they were saying, what's the difference between a lone wolf and a terrorist, right? So in that, like it was a PowerPoint presentation. Like it was clearly racist. Like a terrorist is like somebody from the Middle East. A lone wolf is like a white European.
Right.
Like you say, like technically, like what is terrorism? Like using violence to intimidate people, right? And
It's
all
an
this,
ideology. Yes, an
yeah,
ideology
yeah,
of political agendas. Yeah.
and all these white, disgruntled white people
All
who
of
have
them, they're
got
all terrorists.
children. Yeah, like the terrorists, but there are people who never call them for what they are, because terrorism is usually a tool to attack like
Right.
other people in another
Right.
like another region. It's a convenient
Exactly.
one. So when you go to those people and they educate you, right?
Right.
It goes to say what type of education are you getting. So
Very good point.
yeah,
That's the real. You've got to really ask that question.
yeah.
I think the more you know about it, the scarier it is, because I think about my own education and I realized that, my God, I was indoctrinated for years. And I was studying. Do you know what it means to think back of all those years and all those late nights in the libraries, reading hard, studying, like reading and studying, and all you're doing is indoctrinating yourself.
Yeah,
And you're
definitely.
like, oh man,
and
you go to the
and
exam.
and to make it worse, you're paying them money.
You're paying them. No, let me make it
Yeah,
even worse. You're going into debt.
yeah,
You're
true.
going into debt. There's people who are still paying off their student loans now to be
Yeah,
indoctrinated,
yeah.
to
When
find out
like,
how your ancestors didn't mean anything, to
yeah,
find
yeah,
out how you didn't contribute to civilization. That's what you paid for.
mm,
Because people say, oh, mathematics isn't like that and biology. But I say, listen, you guys need to get your heads correct. Maths, physics, and biology, yes, to a degree, because biology and physics, they also funny style with that. But
yeah,
those sort of subjects, it's not about the subjects themselves. It's about philosophy, literature, history,
mm,
and all those things, because those things shape your personality and perspective, and then determine how you use the mathematics and the engineering and the physics and the biology in society. It's based on the way your mind works. So if your mind has been programmed to think a particular way, you're not going to use those skills for good. You're not going to use those skills to help Africans. You're not going to use the skills for any of that stuff. Like I actually say this to be honest, and this is going to sound very controversial, but I know you don't mind controversy.
no.
The most extreme white supremacists I've ever met in my life were not white.
Ah, uh,
They were black.
yeah, definitely. And if you just take time and see Fox News, there's some people there, like they call them tokens. There's some people
Right.
there who they keep on a pedestal, to like to be the loudspeaker for the white supremacists, right? And they've been
Right.
using them for years. Yeah, so definitely that one I definitely agree with you, right? The
Right.
like or in another way, some of the most dangerous people, right? And like this is one of my best speeches like I've ever heard by Jerry Rawlings, the late
Ghana, former Ghana
of
yeah,
Ghana president.
yeah.
He said, right, a traitor is more dangerous than an enemy, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like,
It's in
and
your
then
house.
in most of his speech, he kept saying that a traitor is way more dangerous, way more dangerous than an enemy, because you see the enemy coming, right?
Of course.
you never see the traitor coming because he's by your
He's in
side.
your house.
Yeah. So
Very
definitely
much in.
that one I definitely agree with. So now let's talk about, because you mentioned the Crusaders, right? So
Yeah.
let's introduce the stream to what the Crusaders is, because even the reason why I really love the Crusaders is because technically I'm actually a Crusader, because
You are
I've been doing that for, like, I think the couple of years, because we've had this campaign of trying to do what your characters are doing, right?
right.
So maybe you can just do the intro so people uh, can know what you're talking about. Thank you so much, maybe Roberts, for
Yes.
your donation.
Okay. Um, Spencer, I'm an actor. Yes. So the Crusaders, okay, is something that I've been working on for many years. Like, I mean, over 10 years now. We're in 2023. Yeah, 10 years, you know. And it was inspired by the story of Oba Vorawen of the Benin Kingdom. The Benin Kingdom is where I'm from, actually. I'm from Benin, you know. And this is a fantastic story. And I've got a video coming out which will go into a lot more detail about the story of Oba Vorawen. But the basic summary is that this was a king of Benin who the British tried to trick into giving up his kingdom and the palm oil, which was the oil of that era, you know, and all the resources that the Benin area had that the British wanted. So he held out and he fought the British and he actually beat them in a first skirmish battle that he had. And then they then sent a whole army to come and burn the city down in what is known as the Benin Punitive Expedition of 1897. Okay. And when they burnt the city, they looted it. And they looted it saying that what they were taking from Benin is payment for the raid. So they were paying themselves for burning their cities. That we have to be paid for what we just, all the people we killed and pillaged, we're getting paid for that. So they took all of these things, thousands of artifacts, they shared it amongst themselves. They took pictures, which you can find online,
Yeah,
of the photographs they took
definitely.
posing with these things. And they took them all over Europe. And many of them, the biggest collection of them is sitting in the British Museum in London right now. Okay. Now,
So
the scene
just a
is,
quick one.
yes.
The British Museum has like 8 million artifacts that have been stolen or with uh, dubious origins. So you can just imagine.
Okay. Okay. There you, I didn't even know that detail. There you go. Thieves. It's basically a thieves' hideout.
Yeah,
That's what
definitely.
it is. It's like a thieves' hideout. It's like where they went and put their all the stuff that they've stolen. Now, the fact that they know it's stolen and they're aware that it's stolen is very frightening to me. Okay. It's frightening to me because they are not even pretending they didn't steal it. They say that they stole it and they're not giving it back to you. Now, the Crusaders basically was inspired by that because I said, you know what? There are so many things that have been stolen from Africa. And there's so many characters that have been created, like Indiana Jones, Lara Croft, Nathan Drake, all of these sort of Alan Quatermain, and all these guys who have made millions of dollars in movies and entertainment and books and so forth and comics. Going to Africa and other indigenous nations and stealing artifacts just to take them to British museums or to sell them for profits for themselves or their clients. Why have we never had Africans, heroes, who go around the world taking back what was stolen from Africa and in the process learning something about the history that's been hidden? And that's what the Crusaders are. They're a family of Nigerian swashbuckling heroes called the Okalos from Benin, who were born in the UK, England, and so forth. So they don't really know a lot about their history, but their father does. And their father trains them to become like it's like Mission Impossible, like Ocean's 11 Mission Impossible, and they become a team of adventurers who go around the world taking back artifacts that were stolen from Africa during colonialism. And the first adventure is called The Crusaders Hunt for the Sunblade. Episode 1 is available now on Amazon. And it's about them going to reclaim one very special artifact that the Oba hid when the British came to burn Benin City. So he hid the most powerful artifact, and they are now trying to find that artifact before a South African collector finds it first. And the first episode is really about, introducing them, but this first season is about that. But the Crusaders are going to be going and reclaiming everything. I mean, we're going to have adventures in Ivory Coast, Ghana, Congo, Kenya, all over Africa, because we're talking about African history, because each adventure teaches you about real history. So this first adventure is teaching you about real, genuine West African history, genuine Nigerian history. Well, it's called Nigeria now, but it's not really Nigeria. And that is what it's about. So that's what the Crusaders are. I, obviously produced it, wrote it, working with artists from all over the world. We've released it. And really what I'm looking for, which is what you're helping with, is just awareness. I want every African to get a copy, give it to their children, support the project so we can make more episodes and we can talk more about these things that have been hidden from us. Because I think that these sort of things like comics and movies and TV shows, this is how you really get people going. We've got to stop complaining. We've got to stop asking other people to make heroes for us. We've got to make our own heroes that we control and that we put out the information that we want our kids to know. Because I don't want to have my children have to go and get indoctrinated. I want to be in control of what's going into their heads. And what they need to know is all the things I didn't know, because I didn't know any of these stories when I was growing up. That's the overview.
So let's, you say you already have one customer. So
Thank you, God
Corey.
Corey.
Just bought it, looks fire. So let's show the stream how the comic book looks like. And you can just take us through as we scroll, right? You can tell us who's who, right?
Yes, so this is the family. So this is the website. This is the cover of the first episode. So you can go to the crusadersunite.com and you can click buy now. If you want to read the first 5 pages for free, you can. You can click the first 5 pages if you wanted to read it for free. And that's the oldest there. The oldest is George with the glasses. The next is Marcus there with the turban. So I'll give you I'll explain what their personalities are. So George is like the leader. So he's the guy who basically is the leader of the group. He's the oldest in the family, right? So he's the most calm, collected guy who just keeps everything under control. Okay. Now, down there with the turban is the turban, yes. That's the second oldest, but he's very flamboyant. He's a person who he uses disguises. So if you see Mission Impossible, every mission that the Crusaders go on, Marcus, that's his name, he uses disguises to infiltrate and to pretend to be different people and to gain access to things. So that's his personality. So he wanted to be an actor when he was growing up. So he's using his acting skills within the team. Now, Jen, who is on the top left, who is the girl with the iPad, she is the next in age after Marcus, and she's the person who does all the sort of organization of the plans that George sets up. So she's the most meticulous of the whole crew. So whenever they go on the mission, she doesn't actually go in. She's the person who plays points and does all the technological stuff with the maps and the things. So she's the one on the headphones. So if you watched Mission Impossible and you saw what Ving Rhames' character does, that's kind of the role that she plays in the whole team. So she's more like the logistics person of the thing. So she's the one who has all the data on the artifacts that have been stolen from whatever African country or whatever situation. She has all that data, and she's the one who calculates how the best way is to infiltrate the places and actually reclaim the material. Next, you have Eric, who isn't actually, who is down by the computer screen on the bottom right. You see him there. Now, he is a coding genius. So he's a wizard with computers. So he's just a person who is just really good at cracking codes and hacking. So essentially within the family, he's the hacker guy. So he's the person that whenever there's any time that they need to get a code, they need to break into something or so on and so forth, he's the person. Yeah, like Chloe in 24. Yes, basically that's who the other pirates was. That very, very good comparison. So Eric is the computer guy. He's the person who is just a wizard with hacking. Then after him, you get Kate there, who is a twin of Peter. So Kate and Peter. Kate is at the bottom. She's the one with her arms out. She is a gymnast. So she's the most physically capable person in terms of just flexibility and getting into tight spaces. And she's just a gymnast. She's a contortionist and so on and so forth. So when it comes to the actual physical missions and they need to break into somewhere, she's somebody who's very good with locks, breaking into locks, locksmith, gymnast, all of those sort of things. So she's the person who does that sort of stuff. Then you have Peter, who's a twin, and he likes guns and weapons. So he's the weapons specialist. He's the hand-to-hand combat guy. He's the guy who does all of those sort of things the best. So he's a martial artist, mixed martial artist guy. He has weapons. He knows how to use any weapon. And in the end, when he actually gets a bit older, he actually goes into the military as well because he becomes a soldier. But he's a military guy, okay? And then the youngest, this is the most important character in this whole thing. You see the guy here in this picture. So click it so that they can see. I think you've highlighted the screen. So you might have to click the outside the screen. Click outside to the right of this. No, go back, scroll back up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go, like that. Him, you see how they're not really letting him get involved, and he's trying to squeeze himself in from behind the crew. So he's the youngest, very young, and nobody took him seriously. His name is Max. He's actually the main character in the Crusaders. Just that when they were growing up, nobody ever paid any attention to Max, but he's going to become the main guy when he grows up. So the adventure that you're going to be going on when you watch it, you're going to see how this little kid actually becomes into his own and becomes a main guy within the family. Because anybody who's grown up in an African family knows, because I grew up in Nigeria. So when you're the youngest, nobody takes you seriously when you're the youngest in Nigeria. So especially if you're in a big family, nobody takes you seriously when you're the youngest in the family. So I really wanted to sort of investigate that when it comes to African families and so forth, and what it means when you're the youngest in the family to gain respect and to gain some level of importance within the family structure in an African setting. But the most important thing is that, yes, he does become the main guy, but it's also through really, really finding out more about his culture and his history. Obviously, within the Crusaders, there's their parents, their aunties, their uncles. What I'm doing is that all their relatives are from all over Africa. So they have relatives from Cameroon, from Ghana, from Ivory Coast, from Senegal, Congo, South Africa, everywhere in Africa, right? Which is how it is for a lot of people. We have relatives all over Africa. And through those relatives, you're going to see different aspects of them. So this is the whole family. So this is the whole family here. This is when they're all younger. And there's an event that happens in the comic. I don't want to spoil it. You can read the comic, you'll find out. But as you can see, what was important to me as well is to depict them as a real African family. So, the mother is dressed the way that, everybody's mother would have been dressed if you were in Nigeria. This like Sunday outfits, so you wear your Sunday outfits. But the hairstyles, as you can see with the hairstyles, are also very important as well to make sure that the hairstyles are authentic to African hairstyles as well. So you're not going to get any weave or any perms or anything like that with these characters, because I wanted to really, really emphasize, the natural African look, which is what I was used to when I was growing up. But again, combining this with heroism is really essential because, I've always wanted to see heroes like this as a Nigerian, as an African. Like we don't get anybody who looks like this. So here, this scene, that you see in this image here, you can scroll back up a little bit. That is from Oba Voronwen's palace. Like I said, this happens very early on in the comic, and this is real history. This is when I can't even remember what the guy's name is. I have it in my notes. When they came to offer the Oba a deal for his palm oil and his ivory, and he knew that it was a trick. He said, like, you know what, I'm not doing it, because they gave him a bogus contract, which he knew that they were just trying to get control of the Benin Kingdom. And when they came to offer him this deal, he pushes back against the deal and he says, no, he's not doing the deal. So these scenes actually get depicted in the comic so that when kids read this, they know history and then they can go and learn a little bit more. I mean, you've got this guy in his agbada. So this is the father, this Walter, this is the parent of the Crusaders, the Okalo family. So he trained all of them. So, and I wanted him to fight in his agbada as well, because I wanted that look, because we've never really seen that before. We've never seen martial arts in an agbada before. So I was like, you know what? I wanted to have things like that within the comic book. So that is who this character is as well.
Can we check the first 5 pages? Because I'm loving the art, the colors. So let's just see. Okay. So we've gone through this one.
I think if you click the page, yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's the first page. That's the first page. I don't want to spoil it too much for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. So let's just skim through it so we can just...
only 5 pages. Yeah. You can go through it.
So this is what you're describing.
Exactly.
The depiction of how They got beat.
Yeah. And then they came back. This is when they came back and they burned the city here, you know. And then this is when the Oba got exiled, you know, at the end. So there you go. Those are the first 5 pages.
What the first book like talks about, that was more of a formula the British colonizers used, because they used the exact same method in Ethiopia, right?
Yes.
Where they went to the king, they had a disagreement. The king took like a few British people as hostages. Then the
Right.
British came with like tens of thousands of people,
Right.
killed killed the king and the wife, stole the prince, looted everything, right?
Right.
Like historical fact is that they needed, like, I think 50 elephants just to carry how much they stole: gold,
Unbelievable.
Bibles. And when you talk about the Ethiopian Bible, like, it is actually the original Bible, not this King James,
Right. Right. Right.
these manipulated ones
Right.
to
Right.
to
Right.
serve a certain purpose. Like, they took actual, like, original, like, Bibles, right?
Right.
And
Understood.
yeah. So, like clothing, royal clothings, everything.
Right.
So that method, they used it. Also, the Germans used it in
Cameroon.
Cameroon. Yeah. So this one, they tried to use it in South Africa, but Shaka really, they really couldn't. For South Africa, you know how they came back again, right? They lost, then they came back again, then they lost, then they came back again, then they lost. Then somebody had to betray, like the tribe for Shaka Zulu. That's how they actually beat the Zulus, right? The British really struggled when it came to South Africa, using the same formula. Where they
Right.
start as small skirmish, then they bring in the full military, right?
Right.
They
Right.
lost that one terribly, like terribly, right?
Right.
Yeah, again they lost again, but eventually, uh, they got rid of Shaka Zulu. So yeah. So like what you're talking about, over the years, we've been trying to try to shame these people into returning our
Nobody
uh,
has even done it. Nobody has done it.
like they do the like peanuts, right? Like,
Yeah.
maybe they return one
Right.
stool, one mask, then they
Right.
publicize it like it's the second coming
Right.
of
Right.
Jesus, or
The
what. Like, they do the press
Crusaders
release.
are going to get everything back.
Yeah. So, like, I'm telling you, there's this one. The recent one we covered is the Germans returned some of the Benin bronzes, some, because the Berlin
Yeah,
Museum
it was
still
and
has.
that was a private collection, by the way. It
Yeah,
wasn't even
yeah,
British.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
just private
And then
person.
and then the people who returned it, like it was them. Like, the people are like, "Oh, what we have is, like, it's not right," so they returned it, right? As in,
Yes,
it's
so
not
it was a
the
personal thing.
Germans did nothing. The
Yes.
Germans did nothing to retrieve it or anything, right?
No, it was a personal. It was the people themselves returned
Yeah,
it.
they're like, and then they're like, "Okay, this is not even ours. It was inherited to us, and
Right.
we didn't steal it. Let's do the right thing and return it, right?
Right.
Instead of the whole country doing, okay. Also, these things, it's our fathers and grandfathers who stole it. They're like, would
Exactly.
it be the best thing to just return it, instead of
Exactly.
telling stupid things like, there's this French curator, I think, in the Paris Museum, was like, "Oh, Africans do not have the ability to take care of their
That is
own,"
no.
like,
Listen, I'm telling you, I,
stupid excuses like that, right? Like,
insult.
and to my retort, even if they bring it back and we ban all of it, it's our
Yes, it's
right, it's
ours.
our property. We can do whatever we want to do
Whatever
with
we
it,
want
right?
with it.
Yeah.
That's
So
my issue. My
yeah,
issue with that is like, if we want to use it for toilet roll,
yeah,
that's our business.
it's
What do I
ours.
do with you? That, you know what?
Definitely.
That's the colonial mentality that they're exposing, is that they think you're children. They treat you like children.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't know what's good for you. We will focus on yourselves.
yeah,
If you're going to get focus on yourselves, give us our stuff back. This
yeah,
is,
definitely.
and I'm glad that we're having this conversation. And I hope that the community supports what I'm doing.
Mhm.
If we sell enough copies of this thing, we're getting everything back. The Crusaders need to be successful enough so that there is enough awareness of what they represent so that we can actually right the wrongs of the past. That is what's important, because, as you said, there just isn't enough noise and isn't enough awareness for them to be ashamed enough to actually do what they need to do.
Mm.
If we have a major comic book and heroes who everybody is buying and all the kids are reading, and these people are finding out that, wait a minute, you mean that we have stolen stuff in the British Museum right now, in museums in America right now, and kids know about this, they'll return it within 2 days.
Mm.
They'll return it immediately because they have the reason why they're still there is there's a lack of awareness. Oh, does the Crusaders have religious view? Yes, by the way, yes. So Obeah, there is a very, very strong spiritual thread through the Crusaders as heroes and even this first adventure. The artifact called the Sunblade, which is what they're going after, is of the ancestors because it grants the user the power of the sun god. Okay. And a lot of the stuff that they're going to be learning through the experience of the first adventure is about African spiritualism and connection to the ancestors. I don't want to spoil the storyline, but obviously, again, this is another factor that's really important to me when I do this comic is that we were given Christianity and Islam and all these things, but Africa had its own religions, had its own traditions.
Yes.
I definitely want to honor the ancestors and say that, listen, we weren't demons because we didn't believe the same kinds of things that you believed. We existed for thousands of years and we're not demons. So for us to, at least begin to respect where we came from, there has to be an understanding of how our culture and spirituality worked previously and how that's connected to our times today. Because I believe it's not a mistake that we are sitting here having this conversation right now. I feel like I am here because of Obalvorawen. That's the reason why I'm doing this. I'm connected to him. He fought and he was defeated, but he made a stand. If he was willing to make a stand over 100 years ago, who am I now with all the luxuries that I have in this society, not to try and finish what he started? He did not want to let those things go. So it's up to us to get them back. And that goes for Ethiopia. That goes for all of these cultures, which is why I want everybody to unite behind the Crusaders in Africa, because this is about for all of Africa, because these guys are also going to go and deal with what happened in Ethiopia. They're also going to deal with what happened to the Congo. They're also going to deal with what has happened in Ivory Coast and South Africa. Believe one of the characters in this first episode, the main family are South Africans. The family who have been trying to get the Sunblade that Obalvorawen had are South Africans, white South Africans, obviously. And these are very, very important things for us to have. So my hope, and it's like, listen, I don't know what's going to happen. It's out. Will this video that we're doing now get views? Will people know about it? Who knows? But my thing is that there are so many hundreds of millions of Africans out there that we should be able to get enough support for projects like this so that we do not have to be whining about having Black people in Little Mermaid or having them in X-Men or having them in Batman. And also, why are we doing that? Doing our own thing. Because then when we are in their films, we end up with things like Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. If you see my Black Panther video, you know what I think of that.
Definitely. And for me, like it really usually hurts my soul, like personally, when usually see these interviews where people go on the streets and they say, "Can you name any 5 African countries?" Then they say stupid things like Zamunda and Wakanda. It just could show you the brainwashing Western media has done to the rest of the world. People actually think Wakanda is a country rather than just Googling African countries and actually go to learn about real African countries rather than a fictitious thing that has nothing to do even with even how African countries are named, right? Before I forget, you mentioned something very important. The religion and how missionaries did a number on African spirituality, where majority, and when I say majority, is like maybe 95% of Africans, right? Feel ashamed of their traditional spiritual religions, right? So, they would rather go give out their life savings to a preacher who says if they spray you with the pesticides, your sins will be washed away, than just go back to the roots and try to learn why this spirituality was very important, right? Why being one with the earth and just living with the environment and so spirituality works. It was so demonized by Christianity and missionaries that most people don't even know what it's about, like how it used to work and how it used to
Right.
help the people of our ancestors.
Right, right. No, 100%. No, 100%. You know, hard copies, yes. You have the option of either getting a hard copy or getting a digital copy. And the price is really cheap. I mean, you don't have to spend very much, but you can get digital. So if you're in a place where you're not able to get a delivery of the hard copy, you can just get a digital copy directly and you get it immediately. The link is on my page. You can go to my page, or you can go directly to the website, thecrusadersunite.com, and you can get the link to the Amazon page directly from there, either or. But yeah, guys, look, the main thing is that it's not even just getting a copy, it's about posting about it, telling people about it, spreading the awareness, because the more people that know about it, the more that I know the reaction is positive, because the reaction up to now has been really excellent. But the more that people know about it, I think that it's going to really travel, and then it's going to pick up momentum and steam on its own. Because as I said, I don't make things that are hateful. I don't do things about, this is not about attacking white society or Western society in that way. No, it's about telling the truth and about empowering African society and empowering African children with knowledge and awareness of self, and giving them heroes that look like them, represent them, and that they can, aspire to be, you know. And no, 100% Kojo Mensa. It has to be, no, that's my goal. Like, what I'm saying is that once this gets going, I'm going personally to take copies to schools in Nigeria myself. I'm going to purchase a bunch of them. I'm going to take them to schools in Nigeria myself. So for free. So the kids who can't afford it, they're going to be able to read these comics. I mean, that is what I'm going to be doing. So this is just the beginning, because I'm not doing this. This is not about money for me. Of course, I need to make money so that I can keep doing it. But my goal with this and my motivation is really about resetting the balance so that people actually really understand where they came from, you know?
Like you're saying, a good point. Also, like for us, last year we also published a book called Mo and the Garden of Plenty, where we, through a collaboration with an African publishing company called Kunda Kids, we
Right,
decided to write African fairy tales, right? So that
right,
when you're growing up, kids don't read about Cinderella, about it's called Rapunzel, things like that. So we are creating our own African folk tales, African stories. So we donated majority of the books to schools in local schools, because it's really important for kids to first of all see people who look like them. Right? When you're
right,
opening a book, you're not seeing Superman, right? You're
right,
seeing a character who looks like you. You're seeing a character
right,
with the same origins and with the same concern. So it's quite important for more Africans to do what we're doing, especially in the publishing. And now my next question is, so maybe you can, because there's so many people who would like to do what you're doing, or they would like to write their own stories, stop complaining, write their own stories. So maybe you can tell people how the process is, or how does one go about creating their own comic book? Just maybe a
right.
summary.
I mean, it's very simple. First thing is that you have to have your idea. Once you have your idea, you then have to create a situation where, how do I put it? You put together your team. So once you've put together your team, you then, how do I, you need an artist, you need an inker, you need a letterer, you need all of these sorts of things. So you've got to look into that. And once you've put together your team, that is when you then have the opportunity to look at your budget and decide how much you're willing to spend, because this stuff is going to cost money. Now, for the most expensive thing, you're talking about spending maybe $300 to $500 a page to pay for, getting each page done. If you're really, looking for a more experienced person, you can go as low as $100 a page, but it depends on if you're getting a novice or somebody who isn't really as skilled. Either way, but that is how you go about it. But what I would suggest is that before you even get into something like this, it requires a certain level of storytelling ability, and then understanding how to format the script for a comic book, which I had to learn, as well. And then once you've done that, then you can put together the script. Before you even get your team, you put together your script, and then you can take it around and see if you can get an artist that would be interested in working with you. Because The main artist is your most important relationship, because you really have to become a partner with that artist. So you have to find somebody that understands what it is that you're trying to achieve and really, really establishes themselves, or rather, you really form a very, very tight relationship with that person, you see?
Mm. And when it comes to now promoting and sharing your ideas, how would you tell somebody to pursue that? Like, is it like, do you pay for advertisements or word of mouth? Give samples?
Say about as far as promoting yourself, I would
Yeah.
say if you're going to try and promote yourself, that was the biggest challenge for me, and it's something that I've still not conquered, and it's part of the reason why I'm even talking to you now. And you know, it's very, very challenging. I say that is the biggest weakness I've had, and it's the thing that I would suggest you should sort out first. I would say
Mm,
sort that out first, and get yourself into a position where you know you have an audience. Let me give you an example.
mm,
If you, Tunacheki,
mm,
decided to do what I'm doing today, it would explode immediately.
mm,
You already have the audience. All it takes for you is to post. You say for 1 month, I'm going to post a series, one video every Monday, introducing each character in my comic. I'm saying if you had a comic, if you had a book or whatever. So I'm giving you an example. So everybody listening, I'm going to use Tunacheki as an example, okay, of what I mean. So Tunacheki has a big fan base. Tunacheki now creates a book or a comic book and wants to promote it. Now, Tunacheki doesn't need to go to another platform asking them to promote their material. They don't need to do that because they already have an audience that likes what they talk about. So you already know what your audience likes. You know what they're interested in. You know what they click on. You know what keeps them engaged. You then make a product that is going to cater to them. And to market it, you just put your videos out, you put your posts out, boom, once every week. What will then happen is that you do not release your thing immediately. Don't release it immediately. And this, I'm advising you now of what you would do. What you would do is that you would build up to the release. You would say that the release is coming out in 2 months, in 1 month, whenever. And up to then, every day you're posting. Every day you're posting. Every day you're posting. And what that's going to do is going to build up the anticipation, the anticipation, the anticipation. The day that your thing releases, why this is so important to do it this way is that you want a big splash when it comes out. Because that splash is what is going to give you the momentum. And then hopefully, if it is successful enough, it then just keeps going, and then maybe even grows off that point. The problem I'm having, for example, as a creator, is that I don't have a platform. So I could create the most amazing comic, which I think The Crusaders is an amazing comic, it's an amazing series, but I have no audience, So I've now had to go and build an audience, which is what has happened in the last 4 or 5 months, whereby now all of a sudden I have a little bit of a platform, but they're still learning. And I don't have a YouTube platform yet, for example. I mean, I have a channel, but nowhere near the subscribers that I have on
which right now everybody go check out the Merc's YouTube channel. We'll put links in the descriptions below, but you will also add it in the chat, and I will share it with you guys.
Cool. Thank you. And when you do that, that is your marketing campaign. Because why I say this and what is so beautiful about social media now is that this is what you used to have to pay millions of dollars for.
Mm-hmm.
This is what your most of your money was spent on, is marketing and promotion. Now, savvy social media creators are more powerful than the most powerful and marketing agency in the world. Because you already know exactly who your audience is. They try to find it by just carpet bombing everybody. About bull. Just you can go direct to your audience with a few posts. So, for example, this that you're doing for me now is a massive deal for the Crusaders. It's a big deal because your audience is the exact type of people that would be interested in something like this.
Definitely, 100%. And I can prove that because when we are launching our children's book, Maua, like it's our community that bought, it's a community that shared it, and like even other media houses were like approaching us to do interviews on the book, and
Right.
so you're definitely right. Uh,
Right.
so now, maybe you can tell me, because like I said, the how you've written or arranged the Crusaders, even though you're talking about episodes instead of issues. Like,
Right.
do you have any plans of making it to be an animation? Because even how the characters are
Yeah,
made
yeah,
to
yeah.
be,
No, it's already,
right?
no, don't worry. Everything is, yes.
Okay, okay, so
You haven't, no, that's another that's another show.
okay,
We'll
okay,
get
okay.
there. No, this is, let's just get the foundation.
Okay, okay, okay.
I'm
Because
telling you,
I'm seeing hints. I'm
yeah,
seeing
yeah, yeah.
hints.
No, no, listen, I'm telling you, you've told me behind the scenes of what you're trying to do. I'm
Mhm,
going to help you because I know exactly what you're trying to do. And I know
mhm,
what I can do to help make that happen because I'm so excited about the possibilities. And I'm excited to meet people like yourself who are my age group. We're younger. I mean, I'm not young anymore, but you know what I mean? Like, we're all trying to do the same things and
mhm.
we're all trying to push in the same direction. So whatever skills I have that I can offer to your platform or to other people who are trying to do the same things, I'm here for it. So when you talk about the cartoons and oh man, everything is going to happen. But the first thing is we need, like I said, I had a target, 100,000 copies of episode 1. That was my target. I said, I will sell 100,000 copies of the first episode of The Crusaders. That was really my goal. I mean, I'm not saying that people say, oh, that's too crazy. You're never going to get there. But I'm like, you know what? You've got to aim high.
Yeah, definitely,
Aim high.
definitely.
Aim high. There's no reason why can't we sell 100,000 when people are selling millions of copies of rubbish?
Mhm.
Why can't we sell 100,000 of education for Africa? So for my thing, I'm like, that is my benchmark per episode, 100,000 copies per episode. Because once we're able to do that, what it does is two things. First of all, it gives you the revenue to three things even. I'm going to tell you the three important things. One, it gives you the revenue to continue. So you can continue to pay artists and actually build bigger and better projects and keep going. That's one. Number two, it sends a signal to the industry that is out there that you don't need to be part of the establishment to succeed
Mhm.
telling stories about Africa and about
Definitely.
Black people.
Mhm.
You don't need it. And that's the most important thing that needs to be understood. Because when you have that autonomy and you have that freedom, that is when you truly tell the truth. That's when you really tell the truth and you give the most enriching stories to our people and our community that we really need because you're not getting vetted by anybody. And number three, this is the most important one. You show youngsters, these teenagers, 12-year-olds, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, you don't need to twerk on TikTok to get followers.
Yeah,
You don't need
definitely.
to work on YouTube and
Mhm.
wave guns and wave all of the sort of stuff to get followers and subscribers. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
you don't need to rap to get paid. You
yeah.
don't need
Or do
to
pranks or
pranks. You don't need to do any of that to get
content.
paid. You can get paid talking real stuff
Yes,
about
yes.
history. That is what I want to show, guys. I want to show you that you can get rich, you can get paid educating people and showing positive images about Africa and Africans. Because the Africa I grew up, it wasn't people with flies on their face and big stomachs and stuff. Yes, you had people who are hungry in Africa, but I grew up in Lagos, and in Lagos, that is not what it was, and that's what the world has been sold as far as what Africa is.
Yeah,
And then you
definitely.
bring Wakanda, and then you say, "Oh well, Wakanda," and then you say it's like a little country that isn't connected to Africa. That's what messes it up. I'm like, so what are you saying?
Yeah.
What are you saying? So for me, those are the things that I feel are really important to come out of this. But it's step by step because not everybody has your mentality, for example. And not to be negative, but it's not like we have a community of Black creators and African creators that all want to work together. It's not like that. Some people are happy to do their own thing, build their own thing, make their money, and do whatever. Not everybody is really thinking about, hey, I've got a big following. Here's somebody who's doing something for the culture, for the community. Let's work together. Let's put it out there. Not everybody's like that. I want to be that person. So if my platform grows, if I sell copies and I do well, I definitely, and you can hold me to this, to people listening, I want to be that guy that anybody new coming through who, as long as they're in on code and they're doing things that are going to help us as a continent and community, I'll be there to support that.
Okay, so let's segue to now your content, because like how the attention and details that you give to the Crusaders is the same that you give to the documentary shorts you make on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many interesting videos that you made. The one for the origin of Nigeria, the one that you're talking about Black Panther,
Oh, yeah.
so maybe you can just tell people a bit about the type of content you create, because you said you create short content on the
Yes.
TikTok, but now
Yes.
you've started creating
I've started on
long
YouTube, longer.
educational content on YouTube. So maybe you can just tell people about that so they can go check out some of your
Yeah.
documentaries.
So my thing is that the biggest issue that I think we have as a community, as far as Black and African people, and Black, even the term Black is not really our term per se. It's something that's really been imposed on us because the term Black is pejorative. So the word for Black that we used to have, what didn't really have a pejorative attachment to it. It was just a descriptor of skin color, but blackness in English is negative. So if you think about it, everything to do with black is negative. Blackmail, darkness, black magic, black, everything black is negative. So the idea that they would tie that to a whole group of people and then everything white is positive and tie that to another group of people is really not helpful for us, even on a base level. So I guess where I'm coming from and why I use that generalistic example is that the way we think is the biggest problem because we are imprisoned psychologically. I don't think that we're not physically enslaved anymore, we're definitely not physically enslaved anymore, but we are psychologically enslaved, which is the reason why, regardless of the resources that Black America have, do you know that Black America has like, I don't know, something 1 point something trillion dollars a year of revenue? Do you know how you could literally resurrect an entire empire in Africa with the money that Black America has at their disposal? And what's even crazy is that within America, the continent, that 1.1 trillion or whatever it is isn't even spent on their own communities. Most of that is just put right back to the people that are oppressing you. So when a community does that, that has nothing to do with physical stuff. That is what's happening in here. That is what is happening in here. Now, my platform is about this. Okay. It's not just information, which is why I don't want to be known as a news channel. I don't want to be known as like a history channel. I very carefully decide on what I'm going to talk about week to week based on a connectivity of thought. If I see a story that I feel like, you know what, there is a way for me to talk about this story that is going to change the way people are thinking about certain things, that is what I do. So I will pick up a story that I'm like, okay, you know what? Like I have the BRICS thing there that I did recently. I have the a video that I did about Vinicius Jr. experiencing racism in La Liga in Spain that I did a week before. I have various types of, Ghana, Africa, Cocoa Wars, origin of Nigeria, CBDCs, FTX. They're very, very different things, but they're all connected in terms of these are things that I feel Africans need to know about. They need to know about them because it is directly or indirectly going to affect your countries, your communities, your bargaining power, your ability to invest in yourselves or elsewhere. These are all very, very important things to be aware of. So that's what my platform is really about. And it's going to continue to evolve as the subscription base grows and we build the community. It's going to continue to expand. And the kinds of things I make will continue to expand and grow and evolve. So that's as an overview is what I do. And it's not just constrained to videos. I have a newsletter, which is very, very important. It's the link to my newsletter is in my page. So if you go to my page on YouTube, you will see the link there. And the newsletter is really important because there's no algorithm. It's like a straight email thing. So if you have an email address, you should definitely be signed up. The paid tier of the newsletter is going to be launching next week. And the paid tier is going to be really important to just sustaining what I'm doing and keeping it going and keeping it moving. Because I have a support group thing which people are subscribed to, which is like a membership thing like Patreon. But that is kind of different to the newsletter, which is just basic, information that I'm going to be posting. There you go. So the newsletter is right there on subscribe. Yes. So if you click on that, that's going to take you to that's the newsletter right there. So you get to my newsletter. Everybody needs to be signed up to that. That is the thing that is really, really crucial, even more than to YouTube. Like, because the newsletter is a mailing list, and the mailing list is very classic because that goes back way to the old school before the internet, when people had mailing lists, and you could actually physically make sure that all your information was getting to your following. And that's the reason why I created the newsletter, so that I know that, hey, as long as your spam folder doesn't take the email, you're going to be getting a bulletin that I put out. So that's that. And then, yeah, that's it. That's the general overview of what I'm doing. Obviously, I'm on other social media as well, like Instagram and my TikTok. I'm going to get banned soon, so I don't want to direct people to my, my TikTok, because I don't know how long that's going to.
No. Just we should just check it out so people can.
Right. Well, my TikTok is there, _ the Merc on TikTok. You can go and check it out. Like I said, we're moving on 500,000 followers on TikTok. Hopefully in the next week or two we'll get there with my next post that I have coming through. But listen, guys, this is the big one I want to announce, guys. I have a massive Cleopatra video and ancient Egypt video coming out. I've been working on this video for over a month. It's going to have taken 2 months to finish. By the time it's done, everything you want to know will be answered. Everything you want to know will be answered in that. It's over an hour. It's like an hour and a 15-hour and 20-minute video. Everything you want answered about the Black origins of ancient Egypt, about Cleopatra, whether it's called Cleopatra Black or White. It is coming out. I've got King Leopold, the butcher of the Congo, is coming. I've got Biafra, Nigeria, is coming. I've got Mansa Musa, richest man in the history of the world, coming. I've got Ethiopia, the kidnapping of the Prince of Ethiopia, that's coming out. I've got a lot of different videos coming out. So it's just, I'm a one-man show at the moment, but as I obviously build a following, hopefully I'll be able to get people to assist with all this.
Definitely. So,
wait. What did he say?
No, it's just
we even get you thinking. Listen, that video might get me. No, that video is going to get me knocked out of TikTok for sure. I'm going to get banned for that. That's for sure. That video might get me. I might have to leave the country when I put that video out. I might have to leave the country because the things I found out are so ridiculous in how hard these guys have tried to hide the truth. Even I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I was like, look at the efforts that guys have gone through to hide the truth. And the truth, this is what's going to shock you when you watch this thing. It's staring you in the face. These are not things that, when I tell you what I tell you, you can then go online and then go and piece together all the information and all the evidence. So this is not something that you have to worry about. You can go and find it. And I feel actually really bad for the people that have been lied to, because I cannot blame North Africans and Egyptians for feeling the way they feel based on what they've been given. How do you blame them? If you grew up and you were born somewhere, and from the time you were born, they were telling you lies, just constantly, just telling you lies from the time you were born, and they kept all the truth away from you, so you never even had context for what you were learning. What do you expect? It's like, of course, because you compound that with the fact that the entire world is saying that blackness is bad, blackness is subservient, blackness is backwards, blackness is undeveloped. So you don't even have an incentive to want to connect yourself to Black Africa. You have no incentive, because the entire world is saying that nobody wants to be connected to these guys. What do you expect?
Definitely. For me, just tell the chat this: 97% of Egyptian populations are Sunni Muslims, right? So, do the maths. No Egyptian was Muslim. So, just goes to show it's like Americans today, right? White Americans complaining that Native Americans are not here. It was our land. Like we were white
the
from the
Mexicans,
beginning of
time. Right.
From the beginning of time, yeah. So you do the video. The arguments is illegitimate, smart Egyptians. Like
Okay,
we've
look,
got so
let me
many
say,
good Egyptian.
Tunacheki, everybody
uh,
listening,
uh,
everybody listening, Tunacheki is saying that when I release this video,
yeah,
he's
definitely.
not going to hide. So Tunacheki is not going to hide from this Cleopatra black and white
No,
woman.
no,
Ah,
like
okay,
for
okay.
me, like for me, even the main reason why like I didn't even jump into this controversial, though the whole Netflix
Right, right, right.
and stuff. It's like it's just fact. As in, it's dark skinned Africans who built like from the old kingdom, who founded
We
Egypt,
know
built
that.
the
We
Middle
know it.
Kingdom,
We
and
know that.
colonies and the Greeks and the Muslims
We
later
know.
tried
They
to.
came later. They came
So
later.
that's a fact. And the thing is, for like smart Egyptians, like educated Egyptians, right?
They know. They
Right,
know.
like Egyptians who know the
Yeah.
history. We don't have any problems with them,
You have
but
no problem. No,
but
they know. It's the
the
loud
loud
guys.
Egyptians, or the ones who have something to gain, right? Like that
Yeah.
archaeologist guy, right? You know, like it's
Yeah.
his livelihood
Yeah.
that he thinks people like him are the ones who made the pyramids and stuff, right? So like it depends with who you're arguing with, but I'm sure the Egyptian followers of Tunacheki know this
Yeah.
truth, and
No,
they will
listen, and I
also they
want
will
to.
support you. Like
Yeah.
in your video, they will support you. They'll be like, definitely, as in, of
Yeah.
course we
Yeah.
know we are Muslims from the Middle East. Like we came
Yeah, no,
over.
and also this is the thing.
Like
I wanted to put it out
it's
there that what I'm saying. There are a lot of Egyptians that are not ashamed of being connected to Black Africa at
yeah,
all.
definitely,
Many.
definitely.
So the reason why you are seeing all of this is the loud people with the microphones. Like those are the people. Yeah, go on.
Like and think about it. How embarrassing is it? Like for me, if you're Egyptian, how embarrassing is it for your forefathers that you don't even know where your Muslim self came
Um,
from, right? Like is it embarrassing even for them? As in, aren't people proud of their origin? For me, if I was an Egyptian and I knew I was a Sunni Egyptian, I'd be like, yeah, we came from the Levant. We went
yeah, you be
to
proud of it.
Egypt, kicked the Egyptians ass and took
That's what they did. That's what they did.
like you should be proud of who you are and your history and your
Right.
ancestors. These guys go like, oh no, we are not from the Middle East. We were born in Egypt. Of course you're not, right? So
I think it's very weird because I even say this is that look, at the end of the day,
mhm.
when they say, "Oh, and you're calling us invaders," I say, "But you invaded North
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah, you should be proud of it. You
So
should
you
be
can't,
proud of it.
yeah, you can't just pretend because
Yeah.
the word is bad and it's negative that it didn't happen. You
And
invaded Africa. That's what it was,
and they won.
and you
Like they
won.
should be
You
proud. Yeah.
won. So it's like, what is the issue? And in fact, you know what? This is the thing. I'm not naive. There were many invasions in Africa. So I
Yeah,
don't
yes,
look
so
at it
many.
as in, yeah, many. So I don't even look at them as in, oh, no, you went there and you won and you took it over, and fair enough. Nobody's even disputing that. Similarly, the Greeks did the same things and the
Yeah,
Persians did the same thing.
yeah,
So
definitely.
it is what it is. It is what it is. Even
Mhm.
within our own Black Africa, do you know how many people were invading kingdoms
Yeah, yeah,
in Africa?
like I think even the Songhai Empire did
Yeah,
way more invasions than you can even the British.
yeah.
The
Everybody
Songhai
was
empires,
doing.
they were a menace. They went and raided and did their stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think our people are misunderstanding. It's like when we say this, we're not trying to say that you are evil for invading North Africa. That's not the point. What we're saying is that after you invaded, to then pretend nothing was going on before you got there is
Yeah,
crazy. Like that's just madness. It's like for you to say that you got there and then now we're just going to pretend that all the Black people that we're doing, they don't matter. And then what's so mad? For you to say that, but in the same breath, you are actually more welcoming of the Greek Egyptian history than the
mhm.
Black Egyptian history. Whenever they talk about the Greek, they're willing to say, yeah, we have Greeks here. Yes, but they are happy with that.
And also funny
Come on.
thing, like when white people play Egyptians, oh no, like Egyptians keep quiet. They're like,
No, the thing, no, no, be careful. It's very nuanced. It's very nuanced. What will happen is that they will, in the beginning, they didn't complain. When they then complained later, it is not very forceful. So they'll just say, this is very inaccurate. This is a very inaccurate representation. And then they just go about their business.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
Exodus God and King with them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
With them
And technically,
Ramses.
and technically, it wasn't even a complaint. It was a press release, a mildly written
Yeah,
press release.
I
Like,
said Exodus Gods and Kings with Christian Bale, a Welsh guy, and a
yes,
guy Joel Edgerton playing
yeah,
Ramses. Joel
yeah.
Edgerton, very good performance, by the way, very good performance. These guys playing this thing. I remember what they put out. They put out some protests. What's his name? Ridley Scott came out and said, well, it's not like we can just go and get Mohammed so and so and whatever one. So very insulting comments. I have to be honest, it was very rude.
Yeah, definitely.
They had nothing to say. Do you know why they had nothing to say? Because it's Christian Bale.
And they want to be related with whiteness. Like a lot of Muslim and Arab want that, like the light skin.
They had no issue. You gotta make Jaimon Hunsu or Wesley Snipes Pharaoh. The whole world.
Definitely.
How has Lupita Nyong'o not been an Egyptian queen in a film?
Yeah.
Do you know what's so mad? Let me even make it even crazier. Angela Bassett, with how incredible she looks, has played a fictitious African queen and never played a real African queen. How is Angela Bassett going to go through her whole career and never play an African queen? It's so incredible, because the thing is that when I look at her and the way she looks, I'm like, look at how this woman looks.
Yeah.
You have many films. Looks so regal. Like you have many films with her as an African queen. Angela Bassett is going to go out with only playing a fictitious African queen who was in a movie that really didn't allow her to do the kinds of things she should be doing. So I think that for me is why this is so important. What we're doing here is that us having these conversations, hopefully in about 10 years' time, we won't even need to have these conversations anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
We won't even need to. We'll just be, do you know what we're doing? We'll be coming on this to just decide what we are making.
Yeah.
We just come and say, okay, look, what are we going to do next week? That's the goal. Anyway, sorry. Look,
okay, that was just so everybody, when the Max video is ready, we will share it onto Nacheki. We will react to it.
Careful, listen, that video is going to be
that. Okay.
That's an explosive video.
And this is an advice to all like Africans, like don't be apologetic, be unapologetic, be like, yeah, dudes, you guys are crazy, like Egyptians were black people, like that's it, and the conversation ends there. Like it's them to prove you wrong, it's you have nothing to prove, because that's the facts, right? You can't argue with a guy that the sky is, like, you'd be crazy. So
I think the funniest thing for me is the fact that I see artifacts and I know what I'm seeing. The only way you guys can tell me that what I'm seeing isn't what I'm seeing is to bring some scientific mumbo jumbo that I cannot even confirm is real. I'm looking at what I'm seeing. When you look at these artifacts, you're trying to tell me that the King Tut's face is not a black man. What are we talking about? Has anyone seen that?
And when you're saying about the scientific mumbo jumbo, I'm sure you're talking about the DNA thing, right?
All of that stuff. Listen, don't worry.
So think about it. It's like right now, you go to America, you get 80 bodies, right? You do DNA on 3. Yeah. Then you see the DNA of Caucasian men. Then you go like,
wait for my video. Wait for the video. I said I've completed everything.
Perfect.
Listen, this video has volumes. You can go from volume 1 to volume 20. Everything. There's nothing. No stone is unturned.
And this is important. Vinny says that's why they talk about aliens, right? So
in the video. I'm going to aliens in the video.
This is one of my best saying I've ever said, right? Like in one video I said, right, in life you should aspire to be so amazing that when people look at you, they go like, "That's aliens," right?
Listen. So they said that the pyramids, it had to be aliens.
Yeah. Like
never have done this. Like, it had to be aliens.
Like in life, whatever you do, be so brilliant, be so amazing that your haters go like, "Yep, aliens."
She's not human. It's not a human. Exactly. I'm really excited about it, because the video, what it's going to do for all Africans is that you can just take little 10 seconds out of it, 20 seconds, 1 minute, anything anybody says to you. You can just go and take a little piece of that video. I'll just say, you don't even have to answer them, just play the video for them.
Yeah.
Everybody should
So,
be.
so,
Oh,
so let's wind up.
yes,
Thank you guys for joining in. I'm sure we've passed an hour, right?
we have way too.
Uh, yeah. So, we always appreciate you guys spending all this time. 1 hour is so much time, and you can do so much. But you guys take the time to spend it with us, hear us talk, and just discuss about. Our passions and what you're doing, and we always appreciate you guys. So the Mark will give you the floor, so you can just tell people exactly where to find the Crusaders, where to find you on YouTube, where to find you on TikTok.
Yes, so you can find me on everywhere actually. Usually it's underscore the Merc, but you can find my primary place that I'm trying to grow is YouTube. So underscore the Merc at underscore the Merc on YouTube. It's going to be in the description as well. Is what I'm really trying to grow. So please follow me there, and my newsletter. So the link on my page will take you to my newsletter, and you should also follow me there. TikTok underscore the Merc as well. You can get me there as well. And listen, guys, I'm growing a community. There's a Discord that you can join as well. You can just join the Discord channel. And it's really about building community with everybody of a like mind so that we can finally be free in here, in our heads. I'm not thinking about physical stuff and all that. None of that matters if in here you're in prison, because you can be a billionaire and be a slave. And there are many of them out there. And that's the reason why it doesn't matter how many Black billionaires or African billionaires you have. If they are not free in their mind, they might as well be paupers, because they're not doing anything to change the status of what a lot of Africans are going through. So I think that's really important. So any of those places you can find me, and I will be doing more stuff with Tuna Jackie. But listen, stay tuned for Cleopatra Black or White. And I picked Black or White because of Michael Jackson's album, because I had something about that. So, let's, because anyway, there you go.
Yeah. So you've heard it. Please support an African creator. Share our content. That's the best way you can do to support us. I always keep saying it. That's the best way you can support us. You can donate. You can do all that, but the most important thing is just share our content, talk about our content, share it to friends and family. It really goes a long way. With that said, this has been Mike Mushi from Tunacheki, and always remember, Africa is watching.